Hey guys, it's Kevin again. This is my review for The Fosters Season 2, Episode 7, Mother. And wow, this episode was amazing. And you know what? I thought this episode was probably one of the most emotional episodes so far. By far the best episode of the season. This episode hit home so well. I mean, it concluded storylines very well. It's, just made the show so much more emotional. And I'm starting to hear that this show is actually going to start to get very dark after this episode. And you know what? I like the direction they're going in, definitely. I definitely like the direction that they're going in. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens next on the show. But I really love this episode. So, let's just get to it. So, let's first start off with Stef, of course. Because basically with Stef, as we know, that was kind of the main plot of this episode. Basically, the episode, if you remember at the end of the last episode, Stef opened up the door and there was Anna. And basically we find out that Mike is Anna's sober coach. He's paying for her motel room. And I predicted this, I predicted that he is basically trying to help her. I kind of thought it was like either he kidnapped her or he's trying to help her. And he said he's doing his best to keep her clean, but after Stef confronted him, she also had to warn him about how stupid he was being. If anyone else were to find out about this, all of his good Samaritan work, he would look like witness tampering, and never mind what Anna's done to them personally. What about Brandon? Anna was prepared to ruin his life just to get some extra money to feed her habit. So, it makes sense now why Anna needed the money, because she wants to get better, basically. But the thing is, you want to get better, go to rehab. Don't let Mike coach you. Just go to rehab. That's what rehab is for. Rehab is for you to get better. If she wants to get better, just send her to rehab. Why do you want her to... I know she really wants to be there for Mariana and Jesus as well, but the thing is, rehab will treat you. That's what it's for. Rehab is the thing you go to get help. You don't get help from someone who's just there to help you. And, basically that was just like, what? I mean, I was just like, go to rehab. So basically, she finding out that Mike wants to help, this has come as a shock. But Stef didn't have a chance to stick around and keep fighting with a very stubborn Mike, because then Mariana called because Lena had been rushed to the hospital. Both Lena and the baby are currently doing fine, but the doctor had warned Lena to take it easy, and she's trying to just do just that. However, she's also a mother to a set of twins that have been nonstop bickering. And the twins could even side table their fight while their mother was sick. And basically, Stefanina asked Jesus to sell their bed and wedding present for them. And it's never suited them, and they just want to get rid of it because they don't have, because the bed's like split in two, and they don't have enough time to have sex or whatever. And the bed's just not. They don't like the bed. They don't want it anymore. However, Mariana is very upset that she wasn't asked to sell the bed, so Lena suggested that they sell the bed together. Also, selling a piece of furniture, as it turns out, takes more than salesmanship. The first few customers that stopped by the house were very upset. The wife was upset and the husband wasn't. They learned the original owners were lesbians, and that turned them off right away. So they kind of had some problems there. And it took a little while for the wife to get over that, and unfortunately, by the time she did, her husband was no longer wanting to buy the bed, and Stef had wanted to only sell half of it, so they walked, and Jesus' first attempt at earning his commission was an absolute failure. So then we get a pretty big reveal here, because Mike and Dani later stopped by the house with food for the family. They wanted to support Lena and Stef during this trying time, but Lena found it hard keeping Brandon secret. And Mike admitted he and Dani possibly might be trying to have a baby. And, that's not a good thing because, Brandon has that secret. And if Mike finds out, it could ruin everything. And in the end, she did choose to stay silent, though she did inform Brandon about his father. And I thought that was the right thing to do. Because here's the thing. He told you that secret in confidence. You are one of his mothers. And you shouldn't tell anyone about it. So I'm glad she didn't tell anyone about it, because that was the right thing to do. Now, Mike basically wants to start fresh, and for the first time he thinks he can, since his last, and basically then he tells Stef, and I thought this was very interesting, that he wants to stay fresh. He's never gonna drink alcohol again. He's been staying clean, because like Stef, he too thought he did something to Anna. He was so strung out then when he awoke to find blood on his hands. He thought it was Anna's, and basically we find out what the whole blood is about. He thought the blood was Anna's, so it was a relief for him to have found her alive and in some crack house. And honestly, I thought that was fantastic, because that's one of the questions we've all been wondering was, who did he attack? And it seemed like he didn't really attack anyone. He just had blood on his hands, and he probably did to himself or something. Now, that's why he's been helping her, but the thought that he had killed her frightened him, and it scared him so much that he can't even think about ever taking a drink again. So he told Stef everything, and he wanted her to know how bad it had gone for him, and that's also why, the chance of starting over appeals so much to him, because he knows he wasn't as good as a father as his son needed him to be, but he's not smart enough to figure out that maybe he should just try to start changing that now. And, the thing is, I think this is great that he's trying to start over, but the problem is, just try to reconnect with your son. I do agree that definitely you need to try to reconnect with your son. If you want to have this baby with Dani, you have to stay committed to that baby. You can't just go off and do something else and not be as committed to that baby and let Dani do all the work. You have to stay committed to this baby. That's the thing, Mike. If you want to have a baby, good. But if you really want this baby, you have to stay committed to that baby. That's all I'm going to say there. So, then Lena and Stef are in bed together, and Lena says, I have to tell you something about Brandon. Now, I thought she was about to tell Stef about Brandon having sex with Dani. However, all she told Lena was about Brandon's pot use, and Stef actually wasn't all that upset at him. She did tell her son, though, that, basically, just because he is a rock star, don't stop acting like a rock star. She said stay away from that and alcohol. But she felt he suffered already with his freak out, and Stef did the same. Stef actually did try pot when she was his age, so she's a lot more forgiving than she would normally be. And as long as Brandon stays clean and none of his schoolwork suffers, then he gets to get off lightly this time. So yeah, I thought that was definitely very, very good. Now, Stef ended up actually selling the bed herself, and, because Mariana and Jesus were finally working together, but they didn't seem able to make a sale. So Stef stepped in, and she haggled with an older, lady, and the older lady actually really liked the bed. She said how, the bed's, for... she's like, the bed's for me and my wife, because we can't have sex, and the old lady said, that's not a problem. The old lady was very sweet, and she ended up selling the deal, though she did let the kids keep their commission, because it wasn't like they weren't trying. So yeah. So everything in the house was pretty fine, it seemed. And then by the next day, Lena had to be rushed to the hospital, and, basically all the kids are playing Monopoly and everything. They're having a nice time, and I thought that was a nice scene, because it shows them, happy and everything. I like seeing that. However, the next day, Lena was then rushed to the hospital. She was diagnosed with preeclampsia, and the doctor advised her to have a C-section. But Lena didn't want to go through with that, seeing that at 2 weeks, 20 weeks, the baby wouldn't be able to survive outside of the womb. But she couldn't hold on to the baby without risking her own life, so she had to let go. She had to have this baby now, or else it's not going to be a good thing. So she thought that having a biological baby would mean that this child will always love her, unlike the other children. That could decide one day that this woman isn't my real mother, yet Lena's own mother had to tell her, basically, that's why she really wanted this biological baby. And Lena's own mother had to tell her that motherhood doesn't work like that. And I thought this scene was so good. She told her that, as their mother, you will always love your children more than they love you, and blood won't change that. And I just thought that was a great scene. And Lena and Stef had this great conversation. This scene kind of made me cry, actually, because the thing with this scene was, it was just very, very big, because they're, basically, Lena and Stef, basically are talking about what they would not want to name the baby, and, Lena said she would have wanted to name it after Stef's, father, and they would have wanted to name it Francesca, and they would have called her Frankie. And basically, I mean, it's just such a sweet scene because it's like they wanted to have this baby, but they know they can't, and waiting for news about Lena. Basically, after this, a lot of big reveals come out because they realize that, they have to do this. Brandon actually goes up to Callie to talk about why she was pulling away from Wyatt, and you know what? I like this. I like that Brandon and Callie are just friends right now. It's fine. Yes, I would like them to get together in the future. I'm not saying I don't want Braley. I do want Braley. I think they have a lot of chemistry. Right now, though, Brandon and Callie cannot be together. It's just not something that can happen. So I like that he kind of gave her advice about Wyatt, because Wyatt had actually gone to Brandon earlier for advice. So Brandon told Callie to do what she did to him, to Wyatt. She can't keep shutting people out when she's scared. Basically tell him the truth about why she's not ready. And I thought that was perfect advice. So basically, Callie told Wyatt everything, and he understood. He wants to wait until she's ready, and he's not going to push the issue. And I thought that was a great scene, because you know what? He really loves her, she really loves him, and they're going to wait. That's great that they're going to wait. I'm happy that they're going to wait, because honestly, if they want to wait, then that's their business. They want to wait, and if they want to wait, that's good. Then they've done what they want. And then probably the biggest scene, actually, this episode, the second biggest scene, is Callie's talking to Jude, and basically she finds out why he wasn't talking. It has nothing to do with him possibly thinking he's gay. It has nothing to do with that. Basically she realizes that the reason he wasn't talking was because he stopped talking after she went to go meet Sophia and started talking to Sophia more, and she says, look, I know you're upset with Sophia, I will never talk to her again. If you're so jealous of her, I will never talk to her again. Whatever gets you to talk, I will never do it again. I just thought Callie was such a great sister to Jude in this scene. And all it took for her was to be there for him, and then it got him to talk again. And now Jude is talking again, which is great. I'm very happy that Jude is talking again, and that's great. The sad part is Lena had to lose her baby, but at the very, last scene, the family decided to plant a tree in honor of the sister they lost. They wanted a way to remember her always, and that scene it had to make you cry. You had to shed a tear in that scene, because that scene was huge. It really was. It made me almost cry, and I just thought it was such an emotional scene, but such a great episode. Oh my god, I love this episode. Best episode of the season by far. Even though the main plot, really wasn't, the other plots weren't in there, nothing really with Emma in this episode, none of that plot was in there. Nothing really with Mariana's dance team, that really wasn't in there. You didn't really see Brandon's band, because this episode mainly focused on Lena and Stef being good mothers. That's really what this episode focused on, and I thought that was fantastic that they focused on that. I do have a couple things, though, I want to talk about. Next week's episode looked absolutely huge. Apparently, after next week, my friend read something about this on Twitter. He told me that basically, the show's actually going to get a lot darker now. And, basically darker in the sense that, they're going to have more darker storylines. And it looks like something is going to happen that's going to tear the family apart. And I'm pretty sure what's going to happen is that Brandon is going to tell everyone that he slept with Dani. I think he's going to tell Mike or something. He has to tell somebody about it, because he told Lena, and that's great that he told Lena, but somebody else needs to find out about it, definitely. Because they just need to. Sorry, guys, I sneezed, sorry. I didn't mean to sneeze. I think it's going to be very interesting the next episode. Now, I do have a couple questions, though. Now, we know that Mike and Dani want to have that baby. What's going to happen there, we'll have to see. I'm sure that before this happens, Brandon is going to tell Mike the truth, because he's not going to have his father have a baby and then him not know the truth. And I think it's probably going to tear this whole marriage, this whole possible baby thing apart. We'll have to see what happens there. As far as Mariana and Jesus go, it looks like that whole thing with Jesus and Emma is going to come back next week. It's going to be interesting to see what happens there. And I think that's basically all I have to say, really. Is there anything else I really want to talk about? No, not really. But that's really it for my review. Also, it looks like Callie and Jude are gonna go over to Sophia. So that's gonna be interesting as well. But that's it for my review. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Teen Wolf. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.